Welcome back to episode 8 of the Real Estate Den. Today we have Neely, lender, coming out of Salt Lake City, and we have Shannon coming from Denver. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Awesome. So we will just go ahead and get right into this. You both are relatively new-ish, which you're not like new like first year, which I feel like everybody assumes. Like you both are in around 3 years. So starting with Shannon, tell us a little bit about your background before you got into real estate, how you transitioned into real estate, and kind of where you want to take your business.
All right. I'm born and raised in Texas, and so it's a big military community surrounded by a lot of military dads who convinced me to go in the military. So I joined the Air Force 5 days after graduating high school. I was in boot camp 5 days after graduating high school, and I did 20 years. I retired in 2020, and I was 38 years old when I retired. And I thought, well, I can't just be a housewife. That's not my thing. I mean, I don't really like cleaning. So I decided that I would do something that would give me some flexibility to be retired, but also make some money, bring some income in. So my husband encouraged me to get my real estate license because, cliche as it is, I loved all the real estate shows, Selling Sunset, Fixer Flippers, and I felt a passion for it. So I got my real estate license in 2021, February, and I hit the ground running. I had my first client the day I got my license. So I started showing houses. My first house or my first client was all the way in the Springs. And so I learned very quickly my boundaries of, but yeah, so I've been doing real estate for 3 years now. I've created the business to be very organic. I've been living in Denver since 2006. I moved here in 2006, and I had worked with a lot of people over those years, and so created a big community of military friends. And so that's what I have done with my clients. I've tried to keep it in the military community. I mean, not that I won't work with anyone else, but that's where I focus my niche. And yeah, very organic with friends, and referrals is what I'm trying to go for. So I'm not trying to be $1 million real estate agent, but you know, that's the goal for the future one day maybe, and I'll get my own show selling mountain views.
I love it. Awesome. All right, Neely, tell us about you and your business and before and during and COVID and yeah.
Yeah, I just want to preface, I've never met Shannon, but listening to her story, like I cannot believe how parallel our stories are. Like I'm kind of mind blown right now. So, I was also born and raised in Texas in the Dallas area, and I
Whoa.
also moved out of Texas in 2006. Uh,
Oh,
so I moved from Dallas to Salt Lake City in '06 because I went to trade school. I didn't go to the military. I was doing collision repair, so in the automotive industry. So I moved up to Salt Lake chasing a job where I eventually met my husband. And I was in the automotive industry from 2006 until 2020, which is when COVID hit. Um, and during that time, I feel like there's a lot of people who used or COVID kind of opened their eyes as to where they were in their careers. Like, am I happy here? Is this really what I want to be doing? So we were an essential business because we repaired cars. So my employer, I was just really unhappy with how they handled things because that was when it was all introduced. No one knew how serious it was, and they just weren't doing anything to care for their employees. My kids were sent home from school in March of that year because of the pandemic, and I was working 12-hour days. My employer didn't give me any flexibility to be with my kids when they were home from school. So I decided I was just done selling my soul to them. And my husband, like Shannon, was like, "Hey, you should get into mortgages." And I was terrified because I was like, I don't know anything about real estate. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I could help someone with their biggest transaction of their life. Like that's terrifying. Um, But when I was looking at the options, I didn't really have a lot of options without having, a formal education or having to go back to school to change careers at 34 years old. So I was just so unhappy with where I was at. I took a risk. I dove in and gave it my all, and I don't regret it. It was probably the best career move I could have made.
Yay. These are good stories. Oh, I like it. And they're recent like COVID stories and oh that is like crazy. You both are from the same state and moved the same year. Like on the same like that's that
What
is
city in Shannon?
I was born in Victoria, Texas. I'm not sure if but I lived primarily in San Antonio that whole time. And in the military, I got my first duty station, San Antonio. So I got an assignment to Korea so I could get out of there. And then they put me right back into San Antonio. So I spent a lot of time there. I couldn't get away, which is why I was like, move me to Denver, please. Somewhere else.
and then so the military moved you to Denver in
Yes,
2000.
I PCS here. I was able to apply for a special duty and I got that job and moved here for that job. And then what happened is in the military, they have regular Air Force, Guard, Reserve. So here they had a big guard. They were bringing on 60 guardsmen who were also active duty. So same benefits, same everything. But the perk was you get to stay in Denver. And I always wanted to live in Denver. My whole life, I wanted to be a professional snowboarder for whatever reason. And Denver is where it was going to be. Anyway, so I moved here. But what was funny is my husband is from California. I'm from Texas. We met in San Antonio at our first base. And his dream sheet said Colorado, California, his home. Mine said Colorado or Texas, my home. So we both were like, yes, Denver. And then, yeah, it's hard to move. He has an opportunity now to go to Germany. And I'm like, I don't know. I love it here.
It's I'm a little biased to Colorado myself. Sorry, Neely. And Salt Lake, although Utah is a second, is like such a beautiful state too. Like I think a lot of
It
the
is.
appeals of Denver also and Colorado also sort of fall to Utah. What are some skills that you each brought over from your previous career? Because you guys, I mean, you had long careers doing things like that you knew. And like Neely had said, you were like, I don't know anything about mortgages. Like ask me about, this car business or, I can rattle them off. What are some things that you took that you maybe didn't even really realize at the moment that were super valuable?
So in my prior career, I had worked in the shop, but eventually transitioned into the office. So I was a collision estimator. So I was writing repair estimates. And in that position, there was so many skills that I carried over, a lot of soft skills that you wouldn't necessarily think would translate into real estate. So I was writing repair plans and that turned into writing loans. I had to call my customers on a daily basis and keep them informed and educated, which I'm doing in mortgages as well. I had to work kind of hand in hand on a team with my technicians to make sure they were getting the cars repaired in the timeline that I needed them to. And now my technicians are my operations team, where, they're submitting my loan to processing or underwriting. And it's this whole team where, hey, we have a deadline we have to meet. I'm the face of it because I'm customer facing, but I have my whole operations team behind me that are helping me manage this process. So definitely so many skills carried over, especially having a sense of urgency to meet these deadlines, being creative, finding solutions to problems that aren't black and white. So yeah, I gained a lot of skills from my time in automotive that I could use in my new career.
I feel like it's very similar. There's a couple different things that I did in my career. For some reason, like I said, I pretty much did the same thing. So a lot of it was training. I developed training for new hires coming in. So what I'm finding myself now is I love the mentorship of real estate. And so I took that training and how I developed it and how to train people. I moved that over to real estate with the mentee part of it. And then in my last couple years, I was the leader of a big section where we were doing benefits and entitlements. So very important things for people, for their medical, for their insurance, for their education benefits, millions and millions of dollars that were handled at our office. So I took that into real estate of handling a big transaction, right? This is the biggest purchase of someone's life. So being very particular and making sure that things are being taken care of, just like Neely said, with timelines and that direction, you know. So I feel like just being around people, taking care of people, customer service, paperwork. I mean, I was admin, so paperwork is my jam. And so the back end of real estate is my jam when it comes to contracts and like getting a TC. I'm like, no way. I love doing my job myself. Now, can I get someone to go drive them to see the houses? That would be great. But yeah, so I think just customer service overall was what I gained from the military, how to effectively talk to people, how to manage time frames, timelines, that kind of stuff, because it was important in the military, and this is also important for people. You can't just let things go.
Right. What did you sort of like, I guess, walk me through when you came over and they were, because in real estate they talk a lot about, and I'm sure they do with the lenders too, but you want to connect with your sphere, and you talked about a building community. Did either of you do anything to connect with your previous um like I said, careers before you guys came over? Were you doing anything specifically for vets? Neely, were you talking to people in the car industry? I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in both of those things, if you niche and focus on that. Um, Go ahead and start with Shannon.
Yeah, so for me specifically, I my first broker was like, text 50 people. First, make a list of 50 people. I'm like, I don't know 50 people, but it ended up I did. I apparently knew that many people. So I texted everybody, and the first thing I said out of my mouth was, listen, my broker's making me do this, but I'm not going to send you any spammy stuff, but please give me your email, phone number. But what that created was, in my mind, what I turned that into was, instead of going that direction, I'm going to now text my friends, hey, how's life? How are your kids? I saw this. So that's the direction I took it in. So I took all my friends that I knew, that I love, and that I wanted to continue a friendship with, knowing I'm not going to see them every day anymore. And what I call it now is I date my friends. I like to date them. Let's go out. Let's go, go to a movie. Let's go do something. So that's how I transitioned the texting, this give me your information, to let's hang out, let's be friends, or continue our friendship, really. Let's not let it die, because that's what happens when you move out of one place to another, right? Your friendships die.
Yeah.
People are busy, so yeah, I date them.
Well, and I love that to think about like dating your friends, and you have these really fun like connections with people. And I think that a lot of agents come in and they think they have to be sort of robotic about it, and you don't. You just connect with people who are like you and that you enjoy spending time with. Like we've all had clients that we worked with that we've hated, if we're being completely honest, and we don't want to work with them again. And I think that that's really great, and to put that relationship first is huge, I think, when we're connecting with our people, sphere, or whatever a buzzword that they want to call it today, right? Your peeps. Neely, what about you?
Special loan programs for tradesmen or automotive technicians, but I really leaned into understanding how technicians get paid. So for example, in collision repair, they have an hourly rate, but it's not that they get paid hourly by the clock. They get paid, it's called flat rate. So say they have a vehicle that they're going to repair, and the insurance said, I'm going to pay you 5 hours to repair this, but they can fix it in 1 hour. They still get paid 5 hours to do the job. So you can have technicians turning 200 hours per pay period versus, the 40 to 80 hours. And I think for some lenders who haven't been in the industry, it's hard to understand how that pay system works and how to calculate it. So, on paper, they're like, okay, I make $20. That looks like, maybe $40,000, $50,000 per year. But in reality, they're turning over six figures per year. So really leaning into that and explaining like, hey, I can help you calculate your income where you can actually qualify for a house, and kind of holding their hand through that. So, I after leaving the shop, I would still pop in occasionally and just visit with my old coworkers and, just reminding them of what I do. But I really leaned into social media to tap into my sphere of influence.
Okay. And I had my ex-husband was a mechanic and we bought a house together, and I remember that actually being like, I had completely forgotten because ex-husband 10 years ago. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, that was a huge issue when we were buying our house. I remember I think he had to write a letter about his flagged hours because he was like the master tech, and he would fix things quickly and move them along and get all these massive hours, but he wasn't physically working those hours. Um, and I think that's so great because I remember him feeling sort of like, it's kind of flabbergasting and frustrating when people aren't understanding you, and to focus on that specific niche of, hardworking individuals who deserve home ownership, who deserve to build equity. I mean, dang, when we bought our house, was in Littleton, Colorado, we paid like 220 for it. It is worth double that now. Like, and this was 10 years ago. So, I'm very thankful that he was able to do that and get in and, whatnot. You said you're leaning into your social media for your sphere. What are you like, what do you sort of do for social media? Are you planning your content? Are you like getting content from other places? Kind of walk us through what you're doing with your social media.
Yeah, so I get I kind of have it separated into three different worlds, I guess you would say. So, my Facebook world, that's where I'm more direct to client. So, as a lender, I'm sure both of we mostly get our clients from realtors. So, we have to meet realtors, they send us referrals, things like that. But I really love when I can secure my own clients. So, through my friends and family. So that's where I post to Facebook. It's not necessarily planned, it's just videos reminding them what I do, staying top of mind, giving little informational tidbits, things like that. And then on
Videos
Instagram,
of yourself or videos of yourself, or what are you filming?
yeah, so it's just me talking or, making a silly video or something to stay, to educate, entertain, or inspire is, what the three focuses are. But yeah, so Instagram, I use that to connect with realtors. Same thing, I'll create videos, mostly educational videos that they can take and share with their clients. And then TikTok, that was unintentional and it's a whole nother animal. And I I originally used TikTok just as an outlet for creative expression where I was just making silly videos about my experience as a lender. And I had a video, but yeah, it went viral, not in a great way. So people were coming at me, but I got like 12,000 followers from it. But it's mostly other people in the industry, so other realtors and lenders. I don't really get clients from there.
Yeah, TikTok's a different, I've heard that you've got to have like different posting and things like that. Shannon, have you been utilizing social media as well? I mean, you both got in during COVID too. So I mean, social media was sort of the biggest connecting piece we had.
Yeah. So for me, I had Facebook like probably most everybody as soon as it came out, 2006, 2007. So not a big following, but I had probably it was my friends, and I probably had about 1,500 friends on there. So a lot of people seeing anything I posted. So of course I would just once in a while talk about real estate. But recently I got hacked on Instagram, and I've had to start all over on my friends. But it's actually been a blessing because now like, I'm intentionally, as I get new people, talking to those people, right? Because maybe they weren't seeing my post before. But I use Modern Agent Social Media. It's a great company. And so they do all the pre-marketing, the templates for you, and you just kind of change it to what you want it to look like. and then post, right? So use Meta, and I post to Facebook and Instagram. So I have my personal where I do every once in a while closings, stuff like that. But then I have my business page where I'm putting all the actual beneficial information about real estate, and then Instagram as well. But I'm starting that all over. So I look like I'm brand new, and it's kind of sad. I don't like it. But yeah, that's how I use social media. And so on the viral, it's sad that yours was negative, but in COVID, before I was in real estate, my nephew and I made a video and it went viral, and you might have seen it. It's me standing behind some mannequins, and he says this lady has been standing behind these mannequins waiting to get out of the store, and it was out of Macy's. Right, because it was during COVID and there was lines everywhere where you had to stand, right, 6 feet away from each other. So it was a joke on that I was standing there to get out of the store out to go outside. And that one super viral. It actually just went viral again. But what makes me sad is it was on his account, and he got
Oh, no.
15,000 followers from it. I'm like, so I gave up on TikTok. So I'm like, I'll never ever probably recreate something so
Just
funny.
the perfect timing and the perfect world, and yeah.
Yes.
Well, and they say that even the negative isn't so bad, like, just even if people are being rude, and there are, like, oh my God, like, I feel like cooking videos, like, you just, like, man, people are so judgmental on cooking videos, it's unreal. Like, they will see a beautiful video of someone cooking in, like, a gorgeous kitchen, and then, like, hate on, like, a little bit of dirt on the counter, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you wash your hands?
Right, right, or did you a
Yeah.
lot of they were very worried about washing rice and potatoes and those sorts of things. So Modern Agent it's called Modern Agent Social Media, and it's an app.
Social club. Yeah. So she's her name is Chelsea, and it's she runs it. She creates all the social media, and every month you get, I don't know, probably 30, 40, 50 things on top of other things that are in there. And so you just log in, you pull them all down into Canva, and then you can, it just saves the energy. And I'm always very self-conscious of what I want to say because I am worried about that negative thing. Am I right? I don't know. Like, you as a lender, you have like a little bit more information, and I don't want to speak in a lender's lane, right? So, oh, interest rates are dropping. I don't want to say those kind of things. So I never really got a good idea of how I want to present myself. But her content always answers those questions I want to answer for people in such an elegant way that I just feel like there's no way anyone could be mad about it.
Love that. What, Neely, do you have specific sort of requirements? Because I know for realtors, we can pretty much we can post a lot of things. There's really not a lot of regulation, but I think don't lenders have a little bit more, like,
Yeah, we
follow?
are heavily regulated. uh, so we have to have, well, and kind of like you guys too, we have to have our NMLS number on everything. We cannot give, interest rates, payment amounts, down payment amounts without, the APR and all that involved. So everything I post, I usually just try to avoid numbers altogether because that's going to get you in trouble. So a lot of what I do is storytelling. Like, if I found out a new guideline, I'm going to share that and explain how it affects that home buyer. Or say I had a unique situation, a unique loan, and I'll explain, if this happens to you, this is what we did. This is the solution we found to it. So just a lot of like aha moments that I'll share. And I mean, it doesn't matter what you post. People are going to tell you you're an idiot regardless. Even if you are right, they're going to tell you you're wrong.
I feel like that's the thing about social media. Somebody's always going to disagree. Like, it's just a forum for, it's great for connection and it's great for division. So
Yes.
But yeah.
100%. Like, I can have the data, or, where I can source the information I got, and they're still going to tell me I'm wrong. And they're not even in real estate. They just think they know better. But, yeah, so I've learned to have thick skin when it comes to that. but it's still difficult. Sometimes they take cheap shots, maybe about your appearance or something else, and it's hurtful. Like, I'm still a human being, but I try not to let it get to me.
People are real brave behind their little phone keyboards, aren't they? It seems like, and I part of it, I can't remember, so I don't like know how to like cite my source, like don't quote me on this, but I feel like and the little bit I've read and looked into social media, getting people arguing and debating isn't necessarily, a bad thing. And I think like I said, like the cooking videos, I think real estate kind of has that connotation just because of the cost of living overall. I think people are just sort of disgruntled about that. But I like the TikTok approach because you're connecting with your audiences, and home ownership is attainable. You know what I mean? And making that, putting that information out there, and still a way, obviously, that we're following our regulations and being good agents and lenders, right? But what do you, and I want to hear both of your guys' answers on this. What do you guys think like the consistency for posting is? Because that's sort of a number that's kind of all over. Like, how often do you think you should post, and what kind of content do you think agents should be spending time posting? We'll start again with Neely and go back to Shannon.
I don't want to say like I'm an expert on consistency, but I feel like the amount that you should be posting is whatever amount you can be consistent with. If that's once per week, then do it once per week. If that's 3 times a day, then go for it. But it's just, you can't go from 3 times a day and then not post for 2 weeks. And then, so whatever you're doing, just be consistent at what you can do.
It's funny because that's my word for this year, consistent. Because I'm very not consistent. With the Modern Agent Social Club, what's great is because she does give you that information. I take a whole like Sunday and I just do the whole month, so then it's out there. And so I've tried, but initially I was trying to have a post for every single day, but now I'm doing every other day just to break it up a little bit. But I agree completely with Neely. Whatever you can do and be consistent, that's exactly what you should do, because it's all about.
Love that. I love that. I think that makes sense, and it puts like, because if you're constantly like, oh, I didn't do it today. Well, if that's not feasible for you, then I love that. Do what you can, that you're not going to feel guilty over either, that you didn't, do things, and
Exactly.
you can still get, like I said, connection and engagement with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I get pretty much 0 likes on all my stuff, but I have had a lot of referrals. So it's like they're still seeing it, and it doesn't really matter if they like the information or not, if they care about it, but they're seeing Shannon. So
exactly.
For me,
and I think some people just don't always just push the like button. That doesn't mean they're not seeing it and it's not resonating with them.
Yeah, I do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I also like another thing that I have done is that if there's something really good going on in my life personally, I love to post that moment or make something funny, just like Neely said, like the 3 different pillars she has, because that's where I'm going to get all my likes, and then hopefully all the real estate junk that they didn't like will also float up into their news feed. Because I mean, realistically, for an algorithm, you need to have something that's kind of trending, so then all the other stuff will pop up in those people's feeds.
Absolutely. And I've been surprised to see too, like when I'll go see people in, sort of instances, they will reference things on my social media, and I'm like, I don't think you ever liked that or commented, because when I started taking a more specific approach to my social medias, you kind of want to go through and respond to your comments, and so you're aware, right, of like the engagement on there. And it's always a good reminder to be like, oh yeah, like it's all out there, which I think can be scary, but also like is such a huge tool. And anybody can go open a social media and kind of start doing it. I think this is why we see such an increase in like MLM businesses and all these other things, because it's you're able to connect, but you have to have sort of that connection. Like Shannon was saying, she's like, I date my friends. Like you kind of have to date the people who, you know, like respond and engage with your content and stuff, as well. And yeah, and just understand and trust that it will float and see it. You know, I use list reports and keeping current matters are the subscriptions we have for my office for our socials. And yeah, I mean, the little skeleton around Halloween doesn't get a lot of likes, you know, but the haunted house jokes, you know, maybe not so much, but you know, if you talk about other things, like I said, it's sort of it all comes together. And you're not, I think, once again, I can't quote who I'm thinking this from, but it was something along the lines of only 2% of your audience is really even ever ready to move right away anyway. So it's not like your audience isn't engaging with you because you suck. Like they're just not ready to buy. It's not on their forefront. You know what I mean? And people care.
They're not ready to hear that piece.
And
Yeah.
that's good, because if they contact you and they're not ready, then you're working with them 2 years later because you thought they were. So, but I want to say to the social media, like for anyone who is out there doing it and thinking no one is liking my stuff or whatever, I had a client, a friend of mine, reach out. I honestly didn't even know she was on Facebook. Like I didn't even know she was a friend of mine, who she private messaged me with like, I have to get out of my house in 60 days, help me find a house to buy. And I'm like, I didn't even know we were friends, but she was like, I gotta move and I need a real estate agent. Who do I know? Oh, Shannon, because she's always posting. Like she remembered, I didn't even know you were on Facebook, because she is silent and quiet and doesn't post, doesn't like, doesn't do anything. So it does work. You don't need the likes to know it's working.
And those people who typically are pretty silent on Facebook are like also real people in real life and tend to have more interpersonal connections. Like, so, you know, and I think it's just, you know, we get kind of, we don't want to do this. We were taught, you know, to be polite and don't do that. And like, it's okay to post about the things. We don't need to worry about how other people react to who we are in person and on social media. And as long as we don't have like vindictive thoughts or, you know, like we're trying to help people. We're trying to help people build wealth and build equity and get into homes and, you know, create a life for their future and for their generations. Like, I don't know anybody who owns multiple properties that didn't start with one, right? Like what we do is so important. So I think, you know, just remembering that as well in our social media, being like, oh, well, they probably already know realtors. Like, yes, everybody knows a freaking realtor. I could throw a pen out my window and hit 4. Like there are a lot of real estate agents, there are a lot of lenders, but the lender and the real estate agent that your client needs is you know, like, and I think social media is a really good way to kind of focus on that and kind of call your people in too. I'll always like to ask, what do you guys do in the morning? Do you guys have any specific morning routines or rituals that you do? Do you just sort of like let the day kind of happen? Kind of walk me through an average morning for you. We'll start with Shannon.
So my everyday morning is I don't even get out of bed. I have to wake my son up he's 15. I have to get him out of bed for school. So I wake up probably about 20 minutes before him and I open Facebook, I open Monopoly Go, I open my email, I look at everything, I look at my calendar, and then finally I'll get out of bed and go wake him up, and then it's straight to coffee. When I was in the military, it was rush, 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 get your shoes on, let's go, let's do this, right? So now I told myself when I retire, I will sit and I will have a cup of coffee. I was doing the Bible recap every morning. I have not been consistent with that, so that's not working this year. But anyways, I just love to sit there, kind of meditate, have some coffee, and then start my day, whatever that looks like for the day. But it's literally Mogo, Facebook, email, wake my son up.
I love it.
Coffee.
Coffee. Main headliner.
I have to wait an hour. I have to wait an hour for coffee because of my medicine that I take. But yeah, so it's like I have to fill that hour with something, or I'm like, I need the coffee now.
You start the clock. You're just watching the time. Just go. You need the 60 minutes.
Yes.
Neely, what does your morning look like?
So kind of similar, you know, I'm also a mom. I have 12 and 14-year-old kids. So being a mom comes first for me, before my business. So I have to make sure everyone in the morning is up and to school and it's doing the things they need to be doing. I also have 2 dogs, so I have to make sure they're fed and let outside and all that. But so after that, I will make myself my coffee. Usually I will just sit and try to just enjoy it in peace. Sometimes I can read my Bible while I'm drinking my coffee. Other times it's just too chaotic to try to read. So I will listen to a podcast or listen to there's an app called Streetlights where it reads you the Bible in like a non-monotone way. So I'll listen to that while I'm doing my makeup and getting ready. But I always just try to start the day off, positive vibes, listening to something to shift my mindset, to motivate me, to inspire me, to, just really start my day off on the right foot, and then I'll.
Neely, are we the same person?
I think because my husband, I get to throw that in either.
Oh, say that again. Your husband what?
He's also from California. I didn't get to that in.
Where in California? I have to know.
Oh gosh, he's from all over. He's from the Monterey Bay area.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and I was like, oh my God, you both have a spiritual aspect in the morning. And because I've been asked a few people about their morning routines, and not one other person has mentioned a Bible, and not back to back.
Yeah. Mine is also a podcast that reads it to you, not my, yeah.
And I am taking both of these down as I listen to you guys. I'm like, I love those resources to actually listen to it, while you're
What's great with the Bible recap is it reads it's like less than 5 minutes probably. So it reads like maybe a chapter or whatever, but then you follow up with another 5-minute little podcast that then explains it into today's terms, like how it is, how you should understand what it just said, because you're like, how do these people have 50,000 kids or 50,000 years old? And I want to know more about that. And so it's pretty cool.
What's that podcast called?
It's called the Bible Recap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think about actually reading your Bible, especially if it's not a study Bible, like you're just trying to read it. It's so hard to understand the context of when it was written, who it was written for, the timeline, how it all connects. So yeah, and plus, reading, especially depending on what version of the Bible you're reading, sometimes it can be really difficult to just read it on paper. So it's nice hearing someone else read it to you, or having the study aspect where it explains the context behind the passage.
I love it. I think that's all the questions I have for you ladies. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know or think about? And then tell us where they can find you if they want to get a hold of you.
I want to say I met Megan because I started a podcast with my friend as well. December 30th, we decided we were going to do a podcast, and we actually just recorded our first introduction one last night. But there was a voicemail going viral in our real estate groups, and I was like, hey, can you send me the actual voicemail? And she said yes. Other people were like, you don't need to hear the voice. Yes, I do, and you don't need to know why. But anyways, Megan so sweetly says, here you go, and then she's like, I'm doing a podcast too, will you be on it? And so I do want to give a shout out, even though hopefully it'll be live by the time this airs. We call it Realistic Real Estate Podcast, Our Lives in Real Estate, with Tim Wetzel and Shannon Elliott. So I'm really excited to get that going. And that's where the word consistent came from, because I hope we are able to be consistent. And again, I am a real estate agent here in the Denver area. I do service military VA buyers. I will service really anyone. If you want to buy or sell a house, I can help you. I can tell you what I don't do. I don't do land, and I don't do investments. Those are the two things that my boundaries have been set. I would not want to give anyone advice on land, and I'm not a numbers girl, so investments are not my thing. But I could refer you if you are interested in that.
Awesome. Neely?
I just want to end it on the note that if anyone's interested in getting into real estate or mortgages, I know it's scary, but if I could do it and be successful at it, anyone can. So just want to end with a note of encouragement. And if anyone has any questions about becoming a lender, all of my social handles are Loans by Neely. So that's my name is spelled N as in November, EELY. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And if you're going to DM me directly, probably the best place to do that is Instagram, because TikTok's weird about direct messages. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. And we will definitely have to have you guys back so we can hear some more feedback of how it's going with the podcast and just life in general. So thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon.